Thursday, July 22nd, I was in horrible, horrible pain. And I spent more than half of my day curled in the fetal position on the floor of my bathroom. I said, I'm concerned that the doctor has the same concerns as what I told you earlier. I think that this is an ectopic pregnancy. They're going to take me back to the ultrasound, and I'd really appreciate it if you could try to come back. I said, because one of two things is going to happen. We're either going to get to see our baby for the first time, or we're going to find out our baby is dead. At 9 p.m. at that time, it takes them several hours to get any information back. So we thought we were going to have to sit there when the doctor comes back in. Again, we both worked there, so we both knew this doctor. And he says, we're not even going to wait for a radiologist. We can tell that you have had an ectopic pregnancy and it has ruptured, and we need to get you into an operating room right away because you could die. So that was our first pregnancy experience, and it was horrible. It's never easy to go through a pregnancy loss, regardless of what form it comes in. But when you almost die, on top of it, it makes it just that much more traumatic. So not only are we mourning the loss of our baby, but we're also struggling to get me back on my feet. Get me back on my feet. And it's
and then question the promise from God to me, and just question everything. And
of course, I think the worst thing, the worst hit to me was that the doctors told me right then and there, you only have a 50% chance of ever getting pregnant again. Having lost that fallopian tube, you can't get pregnant with utilizing your right ovary. It's just not going to happen. The only way you can get pregnant is if you can get pregnant out of your left ovary through your left fallopian tube, and we don't have a clue what caused your ectopic. They're not genetic, so they're usually a fluke. There may have been some prior damage, but since we've never seen what your reproductive system looked like before the damage was caused, we can't tell you if there was prior damage to that fallopian tube or not. So you have a higher risk of having an ectopic out of the left.
Right.
And if you lose that one, you'll never have kids naturally. I have to turn my chair so causing problems here, sorry. Anyway, so
and that was a hard road. You did have to get on medication eventually, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I told her, I'm like, oh my word, why are you waiting? Go, get it.
It really messed up my chemicals. I had a horrible imbalance with hormones and stuff after, because my body went through all the excitement of pregnancy and then suddenly just nothing. And it wasn't even a situation like most early pregnancy losses are usually miscarriages, and you have the influx of your hormones and then suddenly they're gone, and it really messes you up. But on top of that, I had lost a lot of blood, and my system just didn't want to reboot, and I had suffered from depression previously, between high school and college, and I knew that I wasn't handling it. I wasn't handling this chemical imbalance, and it was causing the depression to rise back up. So I did have to go on medication for a while. And then we just prayed that we would...
It was a long road. I mean, it was a long road, recovery physically, let alone the emotional part of it. And one thing that was amazing, and I'm going to give him a shout out, is her father.
Yeah.
He just dropped everything. He was living in Florida, right? He just dropped everything and came up, and
I woke up. The night we had to stay in the hospital overnight after the surgery was done, and if you've ever been overnight in a hospital bed, they're small and they're uncomfortable, and I asked Billy to sleep in the bed with me. I said, I can't be alone. I need you to. So we were both horribly uncomfortable at weird angles. The nurses were probably like, that's probably not good for her, but we're not going to say anything. And in the morning, what woke me up was his phone going off next to me, and it was a text from my father saying, my flight gets in at 10 a.m. I'll be there by noon. And I just started to cry because I don't even remember the last time my dad had ever just dropped everything for me and been there when I wanted him. So it was just the most healing situation it could have possibly ever been for me. And he stayed, he was here a whole week, wasn't he?
Wow.
Maybe even a little bit more than a week. I don't know. He was here a long time, just supporting me and supporting Billy and helping us with the kids. And
it mended so many questions and wounds and situations, and God just really took something that was
just a horrible situation to go through and used it for a lot of good.
And used it for a lot of good, and we didn't have to look for it. That's the crazy thing. We didn't have to question or justify or really dig. Let's find some goodness. No, it was all around us, and it was just it was emanating around us and just floating around us, and you could just pick it up. It's like, wow, look at this. Oh my word, look how this fell into place, and oh my word, look at this, and you should be dead, and you should have just fell asleep, not woke up, and just so many things. And through that horrible time, we saw the puzzle pieces of God putting together and say, man, look, I know this sucks, but look at this. Look what I did here. And I know this had to happen, and I'm sorry for that, but look at all these other things. And just, you pick yourself up and you move on.
And we hadn't been far enough along to know the gender of the baby, obviously, if we were still within that first 10-week range. But we decided that we both felt very strongly that it was a boy, so we named him Nathan Edward. Nathan in Hebrew means God's promise, or promise of God. Which one is it?
Oh, no, you put me on the spot.
Yeah, sorry. I
think it's the promise of God.
The promise of God.
Something like that.
Either one. They mean the same thing. It's just different wording.
But it just came in my head. I didn't even know it had a meaning. It just literally, that name came in my head. And that is a part of healing. I mean, you make it, and it's, you make it even more personal, and give it like a tangible part, something to hold on to and grasp hold of, and it is a part of healing. And
so when I went back to work, I teased all those nurses that were making fun of me for the needle sticks and said, "You called me a pansy, but I walked in here with a liter of blood in my abdomen, so don't even come at me, bro." Because that's painful. Anyways, moving on.